Good afternoon, YouTube. How are you, my friends? Well, it's 84 here in Tampa with a high expected of 89. So we're edging close to what's going to happen for summer here. Usually the heat starts, uncomfortable heat starts in the end of May and then goes all the way through November. So we're enjoying these days right now that are not in the 90s. So I thought I'd make a kind of cute drink for you today. When I was mixing one of the cocktails the week before last, it required vanilla vodka. That's not something that I ever drink. So I thought, well, somebody must. So there's got to be some recipes out there. And I just looked up in the general because I don't want to be, copying off of anybody else on YouTube or doing anything like that. So this is called a Dirty Shirley. And it's a red cocktail, so that's why I thought I'd wear a red dress for you today. So we're going to start out with a shaker and add some ice. I'm always trying to get the right size. I don't have an ice bin that I can just dip a scoop into to come out of a ice cube tray, old-fashioned here. This is not a fussy place at all. Just kind of a bare bones home. So this is Smirnoff and it's their vanilla vodka. So 2 full ounces of vanilla vodka. There we go. And how do we get that red color? Well, you must know by now. It's grenadine. So let's see here what we can do without squirting this all over the place. So we have 1 ounce of grenadine. Now if you notice, the bartenders all hold their jigger like this. But I'm a klutz, so I don't trust myself. And I'm going to add something a little different. I'm going to add a tiny, tiny bit of Rose's lime juice. Just a little. And I'll tell you why at the end. So I'm changing this up a little bit for my taste. And then we're going to give this a good shake. Okay, there we go. Take that right off the top. And then I'm going to put it in a nice clear glass. You can see how red that is. And I'm going to add more ice. I just took these out of the tray and they are melting already. And it calls for 6 ounces of ginger ale. Let's see how it fills up this glass. Sometimes I wonder if, let's do it the real way. 2, 4, 6. Oh, a little more. Okay. I'm going to give that a little stir. And then I'm going to add just a lemon wheel and a maraschino cherry. So let's give it a taste. I'm going to use a straw with this. It's kind of a tropical type of a drink, don't you think? All right, let's give it a shot. It's good. You can taste the vanilla a little bit. And I love the tang of the Rose's lime juice. And a little bit of lemon in here. Now the recipe that I looked at called for a lime wheel. I didn't have any fresh lime, but I did have fresh lemon, so I thought, let's use the roses, and I think this is really good. Okay, that's all for me right now. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right back in here. Well, I'll do that later, because I'm going to take a few just still pictures for my YouTube, not my YouTube channel, but my Twitter page. A little toasting. So here's to you. So what's going on this week? I've been doing a lot of filming lately, so that's keeping me busy. I am back on keto because while I was ill with the pneumonia, I was on a lot of steroids and antibiotics, and so I had to eat a lot of carbs to keep my poor stomach. It just was too much. So I put on about 5 pounds. So I've got 1.4 off in a couple of days, and let's see what happens. My aim is for 10 altogether. So we'll see. And one of the things I find, I've been doing keto for years, off and on. I'm trying to think when I started. The fall of 2019. I had hip replacement surgery earlier in the year because I'd had years of pain and suffering with a bad hip, and hadn't really been able to work out like I could. I couldn't go for walks anymore. I had a cane, believe it or not. I looked like Chester on Gunsmoke, if any of you were old enough. So I was so gradually, as I started to get back in shape, it's a long healing process, and I would say at the end of the first year I was starting to feel more like my old self, and it was almost 2 years before there's a complete recovery. And I was doing yoga, and by the fall I was going back to the gym very carefully, and that's when I started keto. And it took a long time, but I lost 40 pounds. Now, I'm really above that. I'm only above it maybe 4 pounds. But I'd like to get down another 5 just for the camera. And it's interesting because everybody is doing Manjaro and all, the like injections. And one of the benefits of that kind of medication for people that just can't lose weight, and I have family members that are in that situation no matter what they do, so my sympathy is there. Those meds curb your appetite so that you're full faster, you don't crave the things that you used to. And I'm sure some of you out there are going through the same things. Whether you're a gentleman or a lady, as you're aging, your body uses fewer calories each day, and unless you eat less and up the metabolism, you're going to naturally put on weight. It's just part of what happens as we get older. Another one of those lovely things. I'm going to make a list someday and start tell everybody knows it's getting older what they are, but I'm going to warn the younger ones because they all laugh at us and they think, what's wrong with these old people? Well, until you're there, you don't know. So maybe sit back in your judgment of how people are striving to stay healthy and look better when they're having a struggle, because it is. One of the benefits of keto is that as you stay away from the carbohydrates, and that's why I'm not going to drink this at all. This is all I'm going to have because it's just loaded. And I'm just giving my body some rest right now. Just no alcohol for a couple of weeks. Every once in a while you just got to get that stuff out of your system. And going on a very low carb diet. The low carb diet with the higher fat, the protein, and the very minimal low carbohydrate curbs your appetite for other carbohydrates. It really does work, at least for me. But what I have found is that I absolutely positively have to exercise. Now, it doesn't have to be strenuous. If I do yoga every day, that's enough. If I do yoga and then I go to the gym and I get on the recumbent bike and do about a half an hour, 2 or 3 days a week. Can't really walk. It's got some lower spine problems, but the recumbent is good because you're like this. I'm able to take off the weight. So you can kind of watch the next few weeks and see what happens here. And please, don't get too skinny. It's never happened in my life. So don't worry about that. Okay, that's all I have today. I will put the recipe of the Dirty Shirley in the description, and if you'd like to make it for yourself, you can. I use diet ginger ale here today, which helps some, but I'm going to foist this off on my neighbor later. She loves to stop in on Wednesdays before she goes to karaoke to have the cocktail of the week. Love having you here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate all your kind words and comments and your support. I am not paid a thing for YouTube because I am not in their program. Some of my earlier content here when I was modeling lingerie and things just won't allow me to get remunerated for that. So I would have to do some major changes to get to that point. And I'm thinking about it, but it is a ton of work to get there and no guarantee. So this is free for you and I don't make a dime. I am just here to pass on maybe a little elder wisdom to you and to give you something a little fun to do when you entertain your friends. So if you see someone today you don't know, or you haven't seen someone you do know in a while, share a smile. It just might make your day. Remember, it doesn't cost a thing to be kind. Namaste, my friends. I will see you next week around 2:30 to 3 o'clock on Wednesday.